Today on Detroit Muscle, we upgrade the exterior of our EBC Mustang, adding a body kit and wrap to give it a more aggressive appearance. Plus, Tommy and Marc are super excited to bring back an old project to complete the finishing touches.
Hey y'all, welcome to Detroit Muscle. We've got a couple of sweet rides sitting in the shop today. Our 81 Cobra Project Sidewinder and a 2016 Mustang GT that we've partnered with EBC Brakes to give away a little later down the road. Now from back there where you guys are sitting, the curb appeal of these two cars are sitting pretty far apart. But they do have one common thread, and that is that they're both a Mustang. And love them or hate them, you can't deny that the Mustang has made quite the impact in the automotive world.
Yeah, not only that, but they've become ingrained in our society. You may be a middle-aged guy and you like to hear the growl of the V8 as you hammer the gears down a curvy country road. Or even a teenage girl and you want to have the top down and the wind blowing through your hair. Either way, the appeal of the Ford Mustang knows no bounds. If you ask me, there's one for everybody.
Making its debut at the World's Fair in April 1964, the Ford Mustang was the brainchild of Lee Iacocca. The recipe was simple: a front engine, rear-wheel drive, two-door, four-seater that was lightweight and affordable. Available with several engine options in a coupe, convertible, and fastback. It was an instant success.
Fast forward to today, and after several generations and 55 years of non-stop production, the recipe is the same. And the Mustang is still one of the most popular cars on the road. The aftermarket, well, it's alive and well, and our Project Sidewinder is a great example of that. But we've taken this car to the extreme. Maybe that's not your taste. Maybe you want something a little more refined, but still have that taste for performance. Maybe for you, this 2016 Mustang GT is the perfect canvas. Our plan for this car is to build a high horsepower, aggressive looking chariot that knows how to go, knows how to whoa, and looks good doing it. We've already installed an Edelbrock supercharger that'll bring this thing to 750 horsepower, as well as an aggressive exhaust.
So to tweak the image of our already good-looking Mustang into a far more aggressive ride, we went to Classic Design Concepts for their Outlaw kit. It includes a new chin spoiler and grille, rocker panels, roof spoiler, and a trunk spoiler. Now to install this stuff, it's pretty much straightforward and doesn't take a whole lot of time to do it. So the first thing we're going to install is this trunk spoiler. After removing the nuts underneath, we'll carefully cut through the factory double-sided tape, and the old spoiler pops right off.
Ready for this?
I am now.
Let me get mine in. How tight you want to go?
Not too tight, we still got to peel that red strip off.
All right.
And with that red strip out of the way, we can reinstall the hardware and push in the body plug. That wasn't very hard at all.
No, it looks good.
And on to the roof spoiler. This is way too easy.
I know. The front fascia needs to be removed and put on a body stand for this next part. The impact strip needs to come out, followed by the grille assembly. That new CDC grille snaps into the factory spot, and the impact strip can go back in. We need to drill a couple of holes so that we can route our wiring harness for the new grille LEDs.
The new lower fascia will install using double-sided tape. And with it in place, we'll pull those red strips and press it down.
Well, that front fascia is ready to go on the car, but we can't put it on just yet because that new grille has those LEDs, and there's no provisions for that because the factory one didn't have those. Well, they sent them with the kit, and most of this is just plug and play, except this one wire right here that needs to be spliced into the headlight harness, so we're gonna do that first. We just need to cut into the factory headlamp harness, snip the designated wire, and splice in a butt connector with our red power wire. Then we can heat shrink and tape up the harness. rest is plug and play. The final step is to zip tie the excess wiring up and out of the way. Then the fascia can go back on for a final time. And now it's time for the rockers. There you go, buddy. I'm gonna go get the other one off.
Sure, now we're gonna have to do a little bit of trimming on this one to install our new piece. Isn't no big deal, so let's go ahead and get started. We need to make some marks at 2.5 inches from one end, 2.5 inches from the inside edge, and 11 inches from the other end. The reason we're doing this is to mark where to trim this piece out because we have to use it to install our new rocker. We're going to use our body saw to make nice clean cuts, and then we'll get it installed. We'll hold it in place with some spring clamps, then we can start drilling holes and install the rivets. This thing just snaps into the factory location, and man, does it look nice.
Stay tuned as we wrap up our EBC Mustang exterior.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the shop. We're making some pretty good progress doctoring on the appearance of our EBC Mustang. We've got our body kit installed and it didn't take much effort at all.
That's right, but the next thing we're gonna do is take this thing to the next level and make it one of a kind.
We're going to use a partial wrap on our EBC Mustang to give it the desired look. So I want to introduce you guys to Ian. He's with the Wrap Lab. These guys have knocked it out of the park several times on some of our projects. So to do something like this, what's the first thing we need to do?
First thing we want to do is clean the car. We're going to use a microfiber cloth and just isopropyl alcohol.
So why would you want to do something like that?
Well, we don't want any dust. We don't want any dirt underneath this surface. If we get that, it won't look like paint. You'll be able to tell. The number one most important thing is always preparation. So you really want to clean the car, check the paint, check for dents, check for dings, rock chips, get everything prepped, cleaned, no greases, no ceramic coatings. So really clean and prep everything. And then once you've done that, you're going to be good to go.
Now you've seen us wrap several cars on the show, and you may be wondering why or when a wrap is a better option than paint.
There's certain applications where a wrap really comes into play. For instance, you've only got a couple of days, you need to get something down. It's got to look perfect the first time, and you can't have any mistakes. Well, our printer is going to print exactly what our designers put on those computers. We're going to print that out, we're going to laminate it, and we're going to go right down to surface, and it's going to be perfect every single time.
When applying a vinyl wrap to a car, you want to make sure you're using the right techniques.
Sometimes you're going to need some heat. Other times you're just going to cold apply and be very patient and consistent. A lot of the issues that people run into is they always try stretching, pulling it. You really should be able to read the material as you slowly move through. As you apply it, be looking through and seeing which way is the material moving, how is it moving, and is it going to bunch somewhere, is it going to create a pocket? If so, you need to take a step back and really start to reevaluate how you're going to apply this, or else you will get caught in a tricky situation.
All he has left to finish up is to lay out a few decals. Wow, our EBC Mustang looks awesome and is one step closer to being in the driveway of one of our lucky viewers. When it comes to cleaning your car, it's hard to find a wheel cleaner that works well and doesn't have any risk of damaging your wheels. Sonax Wheel Cleaner Plus is a powerful product that is acid-free and pH balanced, so it's safe on all wheels and the person using it. You just spray it on to loosen brake dust and road grime and just rinse it off with water. Plus, it sprays on clear and almost instantly turns red, so you know it's working. For more info, go to sonaxusa.com.
Muscle cars and hot rods can be loud and hot inside, making it uncomfortable for the driver and passengers. Well, Boom Mat by DEI has developed high-quality materials to combat this problem and to create cool, comfortable interiors for any vehicle. Like this direct fit complete interior kit for 67 to 9 Camaro and Firebird coupes. It's pre-cut, ready to install, and includes all of the individual kits for the first-gen F-bodies. It's made to block 85% of unwanted heat while dampening vibrations.
Hey y'all, we've received a few requests from you guys out there looking for some tips on how to clean up some glass. This is an old piece that we had laying around and it's got window tint on it that's been on there several years and possibly multiple decades. Whenever you go to remove that foil, oftentimes what happens is the adhesive stays on the glass. I've seen people use solvent and paper towels and that kind of thing, but it's pretty messy. I've got a tip for you that I want to show you that's relatively simple but super effective. The stuff you're going to need is a few razor blades, some glass cleaner, and some paper towels for cleanup. Whenever doing a task like this, I like to start with a new razor blade, not an old one, because if it has a burr on it, and whenever you go to rubbing on that glass, well, you're liable to scratch it. Remember, when using these things, pay attention. They're super sharp. You don't want to hurt yourself. First thing we got to do is pull off that film. What I like to do is get a big piece peeled back so that I can snatch it off there quickly. That causes the adhesive mostly to stay on the foil. If you pull it slow, oftentimes that adhesive stays on the glass. If I pull it real slow, you'll see that that adhesive kind of stays on there. And if I pull it quickly, now with these smaller pieces, you just kind of gotta keep working at them. It's hard to pull them off. With the tint out of the way, now we need to remove all that leftover adhesive. Plan of attack is use plenty of glass cleaner. What that does is that lubricates the glass, plus lubricates your blade, and makes it so that the glue won't stick to it, and just bulldoze that stuff off from one side to the other. It's that easy. You want to keep equal pressure on your blade, not too heavy on one corner or the other. That'll reduce the chances of scratching your glass. See, the adhesive doesn't even stick to your blade. All right, let's wipe it off and see where we're at. Heck, we didn't even break a sweat doing it this way. Also, depending on the age of your tint, can dictate how well that stuff pulls off. And I hope this little tip I showed you guys helped a few of you out.
Coming up, Tommy and Mark have an old project that's finally made its way back to the shop.
Want to put your seatbelt on.
We brought this '69 Dodge Charger into the shop, tore it down, and replaced a bunch of sheet metal. Then after a bunch of hours of body work, we gave it a jet black paint job, a vinyl roof, and red tail stripe. Then we shoehorned in a Hellcat drivetrain along with modern tubular suspension and disc brakes all the way around.
After that, we sent our Charger up to Brighton, Michigan to our buddy Mike Copeland and his shop, Arrington Performance. They've done several of these swaps on old Mopars, so we enlisted them to get all the components of that modern Hemi working with our old B-body chassis.
And those guys knocked it out of the park. Think about it. This thing is a 707 horsepower Hellcat from Mopar. And to make that thing work in daily driven applications the way they do in the factory Hellcats, well, there's a lot of components that go into that. And getting all of those to work, well, that's kind of difficult. Not only that, but you have to make it look factory. And that's exactly what they've done. That's their specialty. Mike and the guys at Arrington know what they're doing, and they killed it on this project. They've got everything hooked up from the factory. Wiring harnesses, cooling, plumbing, electrical, and it's all hooked up and ready to go, as you can see by what we just did in the parking lot. You can say this thing's ready to light the fires and shred the tires anytime we want.
And speaking of tires, you guys had to have noticed that this thing's got some new kicks up under it. We went with some beefy 20s here in the rear and some slightly smaller 18s up front. To doll up our Charger, we went to Shot Performance wheels for a set of their accelerators with optional tri-bar spinners. They're made from forged billet aluminum, and they're available in sizes ranging from 17 all the way up to 24s. We went with the titanium finish, but they have 6 others to choose from. Then we wrapped them in a set of General G-Max RS Ultra High Performance tires. That way, if we ever decide to take this thing to the track or just cruise it on the streets, we'll be prepared. Well, I don't know about you, but with this thing finally having a pulse, I guess you could say it's kind of rekindled the fires for me.
Well, for me, it's not so much the pulse of this thing, but my pulse riding shotgun with you doing that big burnout out in the parking lot. That was awesome. I mean, what's left on this car, it's the tedious stuff. It's not really my favorite, but I am ready to get this car done, and we are dangerously close.
I guess you could say all we lack is finishing up.
Don't go anywhere. Mark and Tommy start sliding into the assembly of Project Hard Charger.
PowerNation is brought to you by Rock Auto.
Hey folks, welcome back. We're busy digging through all of this old stuff so we can get our 69 Charger assembled. First thing we're going to attack is the windows. Well, here's all the hardware for our driver's side quarter glass. There's a lot of moving parts here because not only does that glass go up and down, but it also pivots while it does it. We just need to get all these parts out here and give them a good inspection to make sure everything's in good shape. One of the things you really have to look closely at is this regulator here, because these teeth like to get worn down or even broken off, and the splines here where the crank itself attaches, well, sometimes those will get worn down as well. Ours looks good. As for all this small stuff that's in the bag here, we just need to look at every single thing, take an inventory, and see what needs to be cleaned up or replaced. Now, some of this stuff can just go right in the blaster, but some of this other stuff needs to be replaced, like these rollers here. They get cracked and brittle, and thankfully, we can get those new. We're going to show you just a little bit later. But as for this other stuff, need to get it over to the blaster, get it cleaned up.
While he's busy with all that, I'm going to get started on our side windows. We went to Classic Industries and got a full glass set up for our Charger. We didn't want to reuse all that old stuff because it's all scratched up. However, we are going to have to transfer some of the hardware from this stuff over to the new ones. To remove this piece, it's pretty simple. We're just going to persuade it off with a hammer, and then we'll run it over to the polisher to brighten everything up. Some of these pieces aren't available in the aftermarket, so with a little bit of elbow grease and some patience, we'll have this trim looking new again. We're going to set the glass on a sandbag to support it, and then we're going to use a drill to remove the center of the rivet. That way, we reduce the chances of us busting the glass. Then the new rivet can go in and get tapped into place. Now to put this piece on, we got to use glass setting tape. It's not very complicated. You just cut you a strip of this, fold it over the edge of the glass, then using a hammer, drive on your chrome trim, and then you just trim off the excess. It's that easy.
We're going to paint the pieces that I blasted using some Duplicolor engine enamel. The reason we're doing this is because it's a very durable paint, and this silver is a very similar color to the factory galvanizing. We've got our painted parts ready to go. The parts I didn't need to paint, got those cleaned up. Got our glass right here and the new hardware that I mentioned earlier, like these new rollers. You can see them compared to the old ones here. We just need to get these installed, get it all assembled. I'll get the glass installed onto the frame. Then I'll use some Permatex dielectric grease to lube up all the moving parts. Some people like to use white lithium, but I like the durability of this stuff. Plus, it's not water soluble. The regulator is next, followed by the main track. We'll get it flipped over, and then we need to install one bushing and the clip that holds it in. Now this thing's ready to go in the car.
Whenever working in your shop, have you ever noticed how everything gets dirty and greasy, like your hands, your tools, the drawers to your toolbox, or your workbench? There really hasn't been an easy way to clean all those until now. These are the all-new GUNK wipes. They are 8 by 12 inch dual texture wipes with no scratching, no rinsing, and no residue. And they come in this moisture seal packaging so they won't dry out. They're safe to use on metal, vinyl, or even painted surfaces. And they're mild enough to use on your hands and arms. If you have any questions about what you've seen on today's show, go to PowerNationTV.com.